The Breakthrough Thinking Broadcasting Network is proud to present the Peoria Chamber of Commerce Radio Hour. I'm Dave, and we are live from Peoria, Arizona. And we have a very special guest today, Della Brandenburger, not from Whataburger. You probably heard that one before, but you're sales manager for the Comfort Inn and Suites in Surprise and Chandler. Della, welcome.
Thank you.
This is great. I always am interested from a business perspective and a service perspective of various businesses, but especially the hotel business, because hotels, in my opinion, should be the epitome of amazing service. The rooms are important, just like a restaurant. If the service isn't there, I don't think people return, or they probably don't want to return. But we'll get into that because I'm real interested first in your background. It's an interesting background from Garden City, Kansas.
Yes.
Where is Garden City and how big is it?
Garden City is in the middle of the United States.
Oh.
Where Kansas is. And it is a town of 26,000 growing, so it may be a little bit more than that. It has built itself from a small town to the 26,000 and kind of the hub of southwest Kansas.
Oh, wow.
You can be in Oklahoma in an hour, Texas in an hour, and Colorado.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's sort of nicely located if you want to go to other states.
But 250 miles from a main town, from a large town.
That's not too bad.
No.
Not bad. That's like L.A. to San Diego. Well, no, that's actually San Diego would be closer than that. But nevertheless, not too bad. Now, do you ever click your heels and wish you were home?
That's a little south of us.
She knows what that means, though.
In Liberal, Kansas.
Liberal?
Yes, they actually have
Midwest
Dorothy's
is
house.
liberal? When did that happen?
Dorothy's house is there in Liberal, Kansas, 45 miles away.
I never knew that. I never knew it was called Liberal.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's where Dorothy's house is, and she's actually on
the
main street. And they have all of it there. You can go and buy your ruby red slippers there.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because we do have a few tornadoes now and again through Kansas.
Oh, have you been in tornadoes?
You know, I lived in Kansas most of my life, and we moved to Florida for like 8 months, and they had one of the worst tornadoes they've ever had.
Oh.
And I was probably one of the few people that actually knew it was a tornado coming and was up. It was very late, and it was pretty scary, and we could hear it outside, and we were in our closet because they don't have basements like we do in Kansas. We were in the closet with all of our belongings that were anything of value, plus my dog was wrapped around me with a leash, and I had radios, flashlights, and everything. We were armed for whatever was going to happen, and we could hear the tornado and didn't know what was happening and opened the door, and our home was okay, but everything behind us was gone.
Wow, really? That's the nature of a tornado. It can move on a dime.
Killed quite a few people.
Oh,
that
it
year.
did?
Yeah.
And what part of Florida was that?
Kissimmee. It's Kissimmee during the daytime and Kissimmee at night.
Oh, I could think of visions on that. But
Disney World is there.
I was off on that one. A little more R-rated. But so you've been to Disney World?
Yes.
Okay. I've never been there. I've been to Disneyland.
And Disneyland.
Yeah. Which one's better?
They're both good, but Disney World has a little bit more.
Okay. And it's larger too,
yes.
Geographically. So, or space-wise, I should say. So you began fairly new here with the Comfort Inn and Suites, July of 2016.
Yes.
And I bet when you came from Kansas, it might have been a cultural shock. I don't know. This is the sixth largest city in the nation, but I came from L.A., which is far different in terms of size, in my opinion. I think this is a small town. People come from small towns. They think it's a big town. But how was it trying to get a job here?
It was terrible.
Well, why is that?
Part of it, I think, is my age. I'm 64 years old, and, a lot of people don't think that 64-year-old people have the ability for the social media, computer, can't physically do some of the things that need to be done. And so it was very difficult. A friend of mine helped me get this job, and therefore I drive from Surprise to Chandler and transfer back and forth to the two different hotels because I just can't find anything. I probably put my resume in at least 150 positions.
Oh, my. And how many interviews did you have?
2.
Out of 150? I don't think that's fair, but that's my political commentary.
Well,
I mean...
We could get into that, but that's not what I'm here for.
Exactly.
So I probably better not go that way and keep myself safe. But
that'll be the sequel. But no, it isn't really fair. But you're right there. That's for a different day. So 2 hotels, very, very far apart, probably 75 miles, right?
Not
Maybe.
Quite that far. About 47 from where I live, and Surprise. And of course, I get to travel the wonderful I-10 on the way every day to and from, and it can take anywhere from an hour to 3 hours, just depending
on traffic,
on what's happening in the valley and on each end.
So tell us your role. What do you specifically do for Comfort Inn?
I'm the sales manager. My job is to find companies to come into our hotels and purchase rooms. That's what sales managers do for hotels. Somebody asked me that the other day. Exactly what do you do in sales? I try to fill the hotel. Also, we have meeting rooms, and so we also try to fill those and utilize those for, even people that have, like your multi-level marketing groups that like to have some place to have a meeting or a gathering or a family reunion or anything like that. We try to find all of that through different avenues, online, offline, personally knocking on doors.
Oh, wow. Now, how big are these meeting rooms? What's the capacity?
Ours are small, 40 people.
Okay.
So they're nice areas to where if you are having a wedding, maybe get dressed there. The women can get dressed in it or gather or just have a little party or something. So we've had just different things that have come in, training. A lot of people like to go away from the building to interview so that not everybody knows who's coming to interview.
Right.
And there's not a lot of talk in the building. So they go off site and do interviewing, and that works out well. And our meeting rooms are great for that type of thing.
So how do you go about, one of your major roles, you said, is to fill the hotel, going to probably businesses. You said knocking on doors. Describe that.
Going to businesses and actually going in and seeing if you could get to the person that makes a decision, or they can lead you to the person that makes a decision. I'm a pretty hardcore salesperson, so they have to really get tough with me to get me out of their building if they don't want me there.
Now, what does that mean before you go on? Because when you say hardcore salesperson, I have all sorts of visions of that. So I want the right vision. And what does that mean specifically?
I don't like the word no. But
is it a behavioral thing, hardcore? You're always probably very pleasant and nice, but you're persistent.
I'm very nice, but I'm very persistent.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm a person that wants an answer, whether it be get out, tell me what you really want.
Well, you don't want to hear that very often.
No, but it does happen. And so when you go to these places, you introduce yourself. Well, a lot of times they don't want to give you information, and you really have to dig to find out who the person is that you need to talk to, because so many places, like for instance in Chandler, are call centers. And they don't actually have a person that takes care of hotel rooms there. So it may be that I just have to do an RFP online to find the company and get the business. But they can tell me that a lot of times that they use a company. And at least I find that out so that I can move forward to the next step. You get a lot of, selling in Surprise and selling in Chandler is the difference of night and day. Chandler is very high-tech companies. You've got a lot of NASA, Intel, Microchip, PayPal, Infusionsoft, companies like that in Chandler, where in Surprise you have companies that are large also, but they're a little different because the mentality in Surprise is more small town. Chandler is more of a large town.
Interesting. So you have to change up your approach, I suspect.
Yes.
So when you dig like that, I mean, how do the executives usually take it? I mean, is the number one step? I always thought the number one step is develop rapport before anything. Is that your approach, or you have a different approach?
You have to do that also, and sometimes that takes Della taking waffles over to the business and dropping them off with a little poem of not telling who I am. And,
that's interesting.
And doing that several weeks in a row until I get their interest up, and then
You don't have one of those poems available, do you?
No.
So you make up the poems?
I make up a poem and talk about the hotel in generalities, but not really specifying that it's a hotel or that it is someplace that you're going to sleep in. And you give hints of what you're doing or where you're from. And you also keep saying, I know you're curious. And so then after about 5-6 weeks
they call
of taking something, different times or 5 days in a row of taking things to them, then you go in and present yourself as the business that has been treating them.
Now, who do you take it to? Is it like to the receptionist and they give it?
Well, it just depends, again, on the business. In Chandler, many of the businesses have security in the front door, and you have to go through them, and they're not going to let you get past them. So you leave it there for someone and just say, I need this to go to the marketing person or HR or somebody that's in charge of making hotel reservations. And they may say, well, there's nobody here. Well, if you could still get it to HR or a marketing person, they're going to know who I need to know in the end. So,
and these are usually with waffles. What other things do you
deliver?
Waffles,
candy, cookies, different, just food, coffee, maybe take a bunch of coffees over, just different things that you take and drop off. That the waffles should be a dead giveaway because most hotels have waffles or pancakes anymore.
Yeah, with those waffle machines, right?
Yes. And so that should be a giveaway. And it was really fun on one of them that I did that I had to go through the security all the time. When I went in the last day and said, this is the last one, and then next week I'll be back and let you know who I am. So when I went back, of course, I took something, and I said, I'm with the Comfort Inn. She goes, I knew it was a hotel. I just knew it from the poems.
That is too funny. So that must make a pretty good hit, I would think.
You have to find a lot of ways to be creative when you're in sales, no matter if it's a hotel or any business. You have to be creative. You have to be hospitable. And you can't take things personally. And you have to keep digging.
Well, when you said any business, of course, you've managed a hotel for 14 years. And you were an advertising director for a newspaper and sold radio.
Yes, I have sold radio.
So what's been the more challenging of all these jobs you've had, those three plus now sales manager for Comfort Inn?
They're all about the same. I have to say working for the two Comforts in a bigger area, different area like this, has been more challenging for me because of the different clientele. And you're not always able to find the right person. When you work in a small town like Garden City, you're able to get to the people. And when you belong to your Chamber of Commerce, I belong to Surprise, Peoria, Ahwatukee, Chandler, and Maricopa Chamber of Commerce. And then I'm also on the tourism board in Surprise, and I attend tourism meetings in Chandler because they don't really have a board. And so that hoteliers sit on and things that like the others do. So it's a little different. Everybody's different, but still the same. You're all going for the same goal, to make money for your hotel.
Well, the real question I have is how has being married 46 years helped you in this position?
I have a lot of patience.
Ah, a commentary on the husband. Huh? Okay. Well, that's good. Wow, congratulations. 46 years is quite an accomplishment.
Long time.
So
Yes.
50 is called diamond, I think? No, let's see. No, 75 is diamond. What is 50? Gold?
Golden.
What's 25? Silver.
Silver.
Yeah. Okay, so
Been there, past that. Been all through those.
Wow, nice. So that's exciting. And, of course, not only did you develop patience 46 years of marriage, but, of course, having, 4 grandkids, one on the way. Did I get that right? Yes, I did.
Yes, 3 in Kansas.
And one
3
here.
3 boys and 1 girl here and another girl on her way.
Next month, right?
In January.
That's exciting, right?
Yes.
The 15th, specifically, of January, right?
Well, they've changed that now to, I believe, the 26th. So,
okay, but you never know.
They're trying to work around everybody's schedule. Which is crazy. You can do that nowadays. So lots of things you can do now differently.
Wow.
So, but yes, I moved here to be closer to my younger granddaughter because my son put a guilt trip on me saying that.
Now, this is on the radio, by the way.
I know.
So let's hear about this guilt trip.
He put a guilt trip on me telling me that if I didn't move closer, she wouldn't really know who I was. And he wanted her to learn how to cook and sew and do crafts and do different things because I'm fairly domesticated. And so he wants her to know how to do these things. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm here, because we were looking for some place to actually go to retire eventually. And we thought that was going to be Branson, Missouri.
Oh, I've heard of Branson.
But instead it is Surprise, Arizona.
That's quite a surprise for you. But it is a big retirement community out there in Surprise.
Yes.
Sun City, for example, but all over, actually. So it's pretty big. The weather, you like it so far?
Well, summers are pretty tough, but
you don't have
other than that, I can get along with this weather. I do like a little snow that I miss, but I can go north a little ways if I need it.
Yeah,
really
well, that's true. Flagstaff.
Yeah, I can go up there. I was hoping we did Polar Express over the weekend. I was hoping that it would snow about a ½ inch. I'd been happier. So that I could make a few snowballs and throw at somebody. But, didn't get to do that.
You are a toughie. Yep. You're a tough character. Get the snowballs and throw it at someone. But is it anyone, even people you don't know? Is that how they do it in Kansas?
No, I just like to play in the snow. Plus, I like to drive really fast and spin kitties. And so my husband always allowed me to do that once during the year with one vehicle.
Spin kitties?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, Greg. Do you know what that means? Spin kitties. Oh, you do? Oh, he knew. I didn't know.
Circles round and round.
So you're a driver, too, like a race car type person.
I still think I'm, young.
Wow, that's very cool. Well, age is in the mind, so I would agree. So coming out here, the guilt trip we went over, but then is there a counter guilt trip from the daughter that lives in what is that, Buhler, Kansas?
Buhler, Kansas, town of about 1,300 people.
Oh, that's small, and 3 of those are your other grandkids. So
15,
how do you balance
14,
it?
and 10.
How do you balance that?
I fly them out here. They like to come out.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea.
So we bring them out here for their spring break, and we go back and forth and visit with them. And, once again, because of social media and FaceTime, we can see them, talk to them, and
that's true,
and
makes
feel like you're close. And so that helps out. And I love FaceTime. When I'm shopping, I can show them things do you like this? Do you like that? If I'm shopping for something.
That's a good idea. I never thought of that. Now, we do know what your favorite movie is. I think Greg can guess it, too. What is your favorite movie? It's right here between the lines.
I don't know. I like all movies.
Well, let's put it this way. Your daughter lives in Bueller, Kansas. So that only will be one movie with that name in it, Ferris Bueller Day Off.
Yeah.
Is that true?
No.
Okay. I like that movie. I thought it was a fun movie.
It's a fun movie, but it's not my favorite.
Okay, that's fair enough. So anyway, so let's get back to the Comfort Inn. Let's start with Chandler. So the common areas are going to be renovated this year. How does that impact who stays there? Do people like it when there's renovations and they don't care to stay there? Or how do you get past that?
Usually close off one side of the hotel on the floor, and you quit. You have the workers quit early so that you're not making noise when people are staying there. Excuse me. They know that, and so most hotels renovate a lot more often than they used to. You know, hotels used to go a long time till they would renovate, and you'd be going in and you'd say, "Oh, they need to really redo." And franchises nowadays stay on top of that, and which is good because it keeps an even keel across the board from all the different franchises that everybody's always updating and staying popular. And, you know, HGTV changed the world totally. They show how you can make your house look like a hotel, you know, declutter and make it look good. And so it has changed a lot of things, the way hotel businesses have even begun to look. As you will see, hotels are getting the idea that less is more in your rooms. And you will start to see the armoires disappear. Your TVs will definitely be on the wall. They won't be sitting on anything.
Right.
TVs will get a little bigger. And, you know, less furniture, more comfortable things, and even closets are getting smaller. So people travel different nowadays, and hotel rooms are changing. You know, you'll go into some hotels, and they all used to have carpet. And that's not true anymore.
Is that
Hotels
right?
are changing to where they don't all have carpet. People like to travel with pets. It's easier to keep it clean if you don't have carpet.
Yeah.
And both of our hotels are pet friendly.
Wow.
And that's great because with the senior population that comes into Phoenix area, many of them bring their
pets.
fur child.
Yeah, that makes sense. And wow, what you know, I always wondered about this, you know, because a lot of hotels accept pets. Is there a provision in there if like it's a dog, if it barks too late, what do you do? I mean, if you
call down and explain that the
and
dog has to quit.
And if the doggy doesn't quit,
it's like a child. If
yeah.
your child is making a lot of noise running through the halls, somebody's got to do something. So, but you know, really, most pets that come into the hotels are very well behaved.
Oh, okay.
And we really don't have a large problem with animals for the most part.
That's good to hear.
Once in a while, you'll get a rabbit, you know, or a gerbil or something that somebody is traveling with. Most of them do not allow snakes.
Ooh.
I did have one hotel that was in our group from back home had I can't think of what they're called. They're like a little flying squirrel thing. And
Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Do you know what they are, Greg?
Flying squirrel.
It's like a little flying bat looking.
A bat? Oh, that'd be.
I can't think what it is. Anyways, sugar glider. That's what they are, sugar gliders. Had a bunch of women come in with their sugar gliders and spend the night, and they had this big gathering. Well, one of the sugar gliders got loose and got underneath someone's door. And someone woke up the next day with it on their pillow.
Oh, my gosh.
And scared them. And so...
What do you do in a case like that?
Well, she got a free room that night.
But they did charge for the sugar glider.
Yeah, and so it was
That's
a little bit of a
scary.
fiasco. But, yeah, that was a little scary. And so, you do have things happen, but for the most part, snakes normally aren't allowed.
No.
But other than that, everything else.
Really? That's quite interesting. So you have 129 rooms there, pretty good size. And
In Chandler.
A meeting room. Yeah, in Chandler. And it's pretty much pretty corporate, right?
Yes, corporate. And then, we see a lot of the cars over there that someday we will be not driving them. They're running around. Waymo is over there, not very far from where the hotel is. And so we see a lot of those vehicles. And it's just a different area. I love Chandler. Lots of places to go and do things, and their downtown is very nice. But I also love Surprise.
Yeah.
I like Peoria, this area too. So it's it's just different.
Get the best of both worlds. You get to work.
And now I'm going to Maricopa, and that's a different game also.
Yeah.
So my boss is considering building there, so we're looking there. But it is it's a nice area. I just like the whole valley, really. And because of driving back and forth and needing to get different places, I have learned many different routes.
I bet.
I have seen parts of Phoenix that I really didn't care to.
No.
And some that are just absolutely gorgeous. I've been down to Ocotillo. I love that area.
Yeah.
It's beautiful down there. So
wow.
It's being in the chamber, you get to move around and go to different businesses and see different people, meet different people.
Which chamber? Well, I don't know how to put this since this is the Peoria Chamber Radio Hour, but I've heard Ahwatukee is a pretty good. Is that one you belong to? Did you say
Ahwatukee?
I heard that's pretty decent as well as Chandler.
Actually, all of them are. They all do different, but they're all. Every director and every one of them is great.
Yeah.
And I like Guy. In fact, Guy was
great.
one of the first people I've met here when I came to Phoenix area. And I couldn't find a job. And so knowing that I had been involved in chamber back home and been on the board and different committees. And so the first place I thought of, I had heard somebody say, the Peoria Chamber was great. So I came over to Peoria, met Guy, and said, I'm looking for a job. Is there anything you can do to help me?
Wow.
He invited me to a breakfast and a luncheon the next 2 days. And after everybody introduced themselves and told what business they were with, he let me stand up and ask for employment.
That was nice.
And that was very nice of him. And Leslie Kais from Windmill Suites sat down beside me and helped me out.
Wow. It's, Guy's great. I've known him for many years and does a good job, but a very, very nice person. So let's talk a little bit about the Comfort Inn and Suites in Surprise. So a little bit smaller, 86 rooms. You have some 2-room suites, evidently. That's sort of cool.
Yeah.
So what jumps out at me, you got the Royals baseball team coming there?
Yes, we have now not the major league guys, but the minor leagues, the farm league that comes in to become the big boys.
Okay.
And so we work with somebody out at the stadium, and we have them pretty much all year long. They're gone now, but they'll be back in January, and really in November and December is the only 2 months we don't have young kids in the hotel. And very well behaved. They're here for a reason. They're here to learn to play baseball better.
Yeah, no doubt. And what percentage do they fill up the hotel usually?
Probably close to 75% for the most part.
That is huge. Now that's good. And
that's
it could
during the busier times.
Yeah.
Not always during the summer. They may have 20 or 30 kids here.
Yeah. So that's sort of good, and it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. It's good you fill it up, But if somehow they left someday, you got to serve a hole, and you got to,
work at filling it again.
So that's sort of cool, though, and I think it's a real credit to you and the company. You're by shopping centers out in Surprise?
Yes, we're right beside Lowe's, where there's a shopping center right there, and there's restaurants close. We're in a perfect position, actually, where we're at. Because of that, they can walk to food. They can walk and go get things and entertain themselves. And the young kids with the Royals like that also, too. Oh, they like to shop.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I bet they do. What type of restaurants are out there?
We've got a brewery close. There's Carl's if you just want a burger.
Sure.
There's, Red Lobster, Olive Garden.
Always good.
Salads to go. We've got just about anything you can ask just right there in our area. You don't have to go very far to get food.
I think I know where that is. Is that off of Grand?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Bell and Grand?
Yes. Right there where the new bridge is.
Yeah, I think I went to that Olive Garden, or it's somewhere near there, right?
Yeah, it's right in that shopping mall.
That's
right
big.
there.
Looks pretty cool, too, out there.
Yeah.
It's on the way to Vegas, by the way. That's how I knew. I think Greg went there, too. Yeah, it was a nice, very nice, very modern, and some good restaurants, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, I like both the Red Lobster and Olive Garden. So this is not as corporate, would you say?
Right.
How would you describe this one in Surprise?
We still have a lot of corporate, but it's more, small town mentality to a certain degree, and they pride themselves of that in Surprise, and it's just a nice warm feeling there. And I'm not saying Chandler isn't, but Chandler's more corporate feeling.
Sure.
Where in Surprise it's more family oriented. You have a lot of people with your seniors coming in with family. Lots of pickleball, lots of tennis.
Oh.
There's a lot of sports that goes on in the Surprise area.
That's interesting. That's very cool. Now, you said you belong to the Surprise Chamber. I have been there a few times, and I was very impressed with the Surprise Chamber, too. They have this breakfast, and they draw a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember a couple times I went there. It was pretty early, if I remember. It was like at 7 or something.
Almost everything with Chambers in the morning is at 7
very,
if
very
they have
early.
breakfast.
So I said, hey, why go to bed tonight? Just go, that way I don't have to get up
When
early.
I go to Maricopa, I stay the night in Chandler.
Oh, do you?
It's too far. Yeah,
I don't blame you, because that's a bit of a drive from where you're at in Surprise. So you live in Surprise, right?
Yes.
Yeah, which is nice. That's recovering from sort of the downturn, and I think it's moving on up. I think most of Phoenix.
Oh, they're really progressing in Maricopa,
which is really, really nice. Now,
but actually, what town isn't progressing in the Valley?
I think
Surprise is growing.
Yeah,
Peoria, Glendale, Chandler is growing. Maricopa is growing.
That's true.
So, as far as the Valley itself and the Phoenix metro area, all the towns around are really growing. Visit Phoenix is another organization we belong to, and they bring in some of the business, that we help with the tourism also. And so they have a lot going on also. And so as hoteliers, you have to belong to all of these things so that you know what is coming. And we have a lot of tour buses come here in this area from California. And so really everyone is very blessed to have what they get here, because you get, like over with Intel and the different corporate people, you have a lot of different overseas people that come and visit and stay.
Oh, neat.
And, even in Surprise, you have Iris and different companies. Yeah. So you also have that same thing. And so Phoenix area is kind of a melting pot for international travel. Yeah. And I would have never have guessed that, but it really is. And I guess because of the weather, and now with all the business that is coming into this area, the whole valley is growing. and it's just kind of like a challenge who's going to grow the fastest.
Yeah, I think you're right. There is a lot of good growth. During the downturn, they went from, well, was it 5th to 6th or 6th to 7th in population, largest city. I think Philly overtook them, but now they're back above Philly, I believe. So it is growing. There's no question about it. So let's talk about, because of the growing rate of this area in Phoenix, competition. You say it's very difficult. But once you know your identity, that's who your competition. It's not all hotels. They got like amazing resorts there, but that's who they are. So your identity in Chandler and Surprise, what is that like? Especially Chandler, maybe the corporate traveler. Is it a long-term thing for most people, or they come in and out in Chandler?
Both. We have both. Excuse me. We have all hotels are pretty much the same. You're selling a room, you're selling your amenities, and we're the mid-level hotel. And so we have a lot of family stay, and you do have corporate also.
I gotcha.
So Comfort is it's Comfort Inn in Chandler, Comfort Inn and Suites in Surprise. That is a Choice brand, and Choice has added other franchises like, now there's Howard Johnson and your Roadways and your Ascend and your Cambria. And so there's a lot of hotels in a lot of those different franchises. So, and everybody's doing the same thing. Our amenities are pretty much the same, People have free Wi-Fi, pool, spas, fitness centers, free breakfast.
What type of breakfast? Is it cold or usually do you have hot?
Everybody serves pretty much the same thing anymore. Your waffles, some eggs, meats, cereals, yogurts. Things changed a lot in the last 10 years with hotels and what they bring in for food because of the fact that you have they want to make sure they have something for people with illnesses like diabetes or anything like that. So that's why they've brought in like your boiled eggs, your yogurts, different fruits, so they can eat a fruit if they need to get a little bit of sugar or whatever. And some have cheese sticks and different things. So hotels are geared more towards what the person wants. Plus, you can take your yogurt easier. You could take a boiled egg easier.
Right.
And some hotels bag up a little breakfast bag for you to take. So there's some that do that.
Very cool.
Our hotel had started doing that back home, that we would bag a breakfast with a muffin, bottle of water, and they can get their coffee as they're going. And most hotels anymore have coffee 24/7. And so they really are trying to cater to the needs of your clientele and make it easier.
It's as a sales manager, are you connected with the operational end at all? Because probably what would be most frustrating to a salesperson or sales manager in any industry is you get them to come and then the service isn't what you expect. That's got to frustrate you. I'm not saying it happens in other businesses. I'm not saying it happens in your business, but do you somehow get together with operations and make sure that, hey, if I'm going to bring people in, is there a standard of quality?
Right. And you do that. You work with the GMs, the general managers, to make sure everything is going the way you want to, and that it needs to be, and I even work with the sales people at the front desk, because they are also, they're 80% of your sales, because if somebody walks in, I'm not there to take care of them.
Right.
They have to be the ones that are on target with hospitality and making sure that the client is taken very well care of and will return. Because if you go somewhere and you're not taken care of, you're not going to return. And nowadays, because of social media, reviews are huge. And they're not just on your franchise. They're on Expedia. They're on all of the different online travel agents, which we call OTAs. It's very important to take hospitality has to be number one. You have to be able to take care of your clientele because you never know what could happen. There could be something missed by a housekeeper. You don't want that to happen, but it could. And so you really have to be able to take care of that clientele and make sure that they feel that they were taken care of and got the best service that they could get.
That's true. I once stayed, well, I won't mention the name, but it's a very well-known brand, and it's the highest level of, they have various hotels, but it's the highest of the high, like 5 stars. And I won't go back. It was it was a headquarters for one year for the National Hockey League, actually the Stanley Cup Finals, and I asked, I go, where do you check in, and they go, what group? I said, the National Hockey League. They go, I don't know if they're here. And I go, can you find out? I don't know who to ask. I mean, the service was horrendous. I just couldn't believe it, a big hotel like that. With such recognition and reputation. And I asked 3-4 people. And finally I had to go to a manager who was very good. But I don't think, with a little bit of training, you would have figured, right? The first time they would have said, I will find out right away. But they had no clue. That was odd, right? Yeah. To me, it was odd.
Well, and training is a large part of it. You really need to work with your guest services representatives because of the fact that they are the first person that they see, and they may be the last.
You're right.
As well as your breakfast person, that person also needs to stay on target with making sure everything is taken care of and that the people are feeling good about where they're staying, because they could also be your last connection to this person before they go online and write a review. And so I think hospitality overall in the world has been lost a little bit. And sometimes we forget to be kind. And you have to think about, what if you were that person? Yeah. Put yourself in that person's position. What if this happened to you last night? How would you react? Yeah. And so I have always taught employees through all the things that I've done through my years to be nice, take care of the customer. They are number one. Are they always right? Probably not. No. But there's no sense in arguing that point. Don't argue with them about it. Make sure they're taken care of some way, somehow. And, everybody always thinks you have to give back money. And that's not always the case. A lot of times they just want an I'm sorry.
No doubt about it.
And I understand and I care about your feelings, and I'll make this right with you somehow.
See, that's very good what you said, because so many people don't say that. They start with an attitude or something like, well, the thing, my pet peeve is like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, when it was clearly an error on their part, but they still say, well, you feel that way, like, well, that's my interpretation, rather than owning it. And I just had that too. It wasn't a hotel industry, but it's like they were clearly misinformed, but they rather than say, well, I'm sorry, I didn't really know that, and I'll find out. I'm sorry you feel that way. It's a whole different way of communicating. It drove me nuts, actually. I go, are you kidding me?
It's not what you say.
It's how you say it. No question about it. Yeah.
And the attitude that you have behind it. And if you truly are in hospitality, and hospitality is not just hotel or restaurant.
Right.
It's big box. It's small box. It's mom and pop.
It's Jack in the Box.
It's everything.
Yeah.
And you have to make sure that you take care of that customer.
Yep.
And that you don't have an attitude. and understand that they work hard for their money also.
Yeah.
And
good attitude.
they're spending it in your business, and so take care of them.
Now, as we're wrapping up this segment, I do have a couple more questions. Why be careful when booking online? What's up with that?
Because if you put in Comfort Inn, what is going to pop up in the first spot is not going to be Choice Hotels.
Oh.
Most of the time. Expedia will pay to be, or one of the other online travel agents will pay to have that first spot. And so you have to be careful, because what happens is you book that and it'll say Comfort Inn. It'll say whatever town you're wanting to get or whatever brand you're looking at. But then when you actually go to the hotel, this happens so many times, and say, I have this reservation, this is what I have, and they say, okay, but that is not what you have. You didn't book it through Choice Hotels. You really need to pay attention when you go to book a online travel, that if you are wanting to connect with Choice Hotels, you go to Choice Hotels.
Gotcha.
If you're wanting to connect to Marriott, whoever you're wanting to connect to, you've got to make sure that you do that. Otherwise, you're going to pick up an online travel agent that's going to throw Comfort in there, and it will. And the difference is, they pay you pay them, they pay us. So we have no control over what your reservation really is,
or the rate, right?
They take care of everything. They take your payment, everything. So when you come and it's already paid for, and you want to extend or something, we have to either have you go back and go through where you came from or something, or if there's a problem and you need to cancel, probably on the bottom of that paper of that reservation, it will say there is no cancellations.
Oh, wow.
So you really need to read
careful.
the fine line. You need to be careful. You need to pay attention. It happens day after day after day after day with hotels and bookings. But, again, it's how the hotel handles it and the hospitality that you get to make sure that you're taken care of, even if that happens.
Now, if the management does the M&M technique, you'll be okay. And what is the M&M technique?
Okay.
I'll tell you what it is.
Okay.
Mentor, model, and motivate.
I
love that.
If you mentor and you model, then most of the time you don't have to motivate, because that will come from the other two. My former boss, he is a person that teaches hospitality he works with casinos and restaurants and hotels and different businesses. And we visit back and forth, and he talks about that all the time. And you have to model the type of person that you want everyone else to be in your business.
Sure.
And then you have to mentor them and teach them. Too many times, employees are thrown into the mix too quickly and forgotten about. And then when they make a mistake, you come down on top of them, and that's not fair, because you didn't do your job.
Yeah.
You didn't train them well enough, you didn't follow through, and you didn't stay on top of the situation. And so I blame the leadership from that a lot of times.
Makes sense.
And because I have been that leader, and I know that I had to fess up to my mistakes.
Yeah.
And that was one of them.
Well, that makes sense. Now, we're not going to talk about the bird on the front of your car. We'll leave that for curiosity, as you put it earlier. But I will ask a question on your last name, Brandenburger. What's your favorite story on whoever sort of talked about that and in a way that's sort of funny? You must have had comments on your last name, Brandenburger.
Brandenburger.
Maybe that's a famous McDonald's used to be called that, maybe. I don't know.
Well, there's the Brandenburg Wall. So, well, and my maiden name wasn't any better.
Let me guess. It was hot dog. No, couldn't have been that. French fries. No. What is your maiden name?
My maiden name, my full name is Della and Brandenburger.
You still have Brandenburger in your maiden name?
My maiden name is
You
Brueggemann.
are from the Midwest.
Brueggemann.
No, I'm
Pronounced actually Bregemann, but it's Brueggemann. Brueggemann. So I
gotcha.
So I went from Brueggemann to Brandenburger.
I like Brandenburger.
And my husband actually has sold cars for many years. His family was in the business for 37.
Oh, wow.
Selling Pontiacs back in the days. And the funny thing is, when you talk about that last name, he does get called Hamburger from one guy all the time.
I bet. It's a classic. I like it. I do like it a lot. So what's the contact information to get in touch with you, the hotel, whatever you want to give out?
Comfort Inn and Chandler, you can call them and you can look it up online, because nobody will write down the number if I give it to them. I've done radio,
Oh, yes.
You think you're going to remember that number, but only if it starts with 800.
Yeah.
So, but you can call Chandler, look up Choice Hotels and just put in Chandler or Surprise, and it will have all the information. And they can reach me at either hotel. I'm very easy to find.
Excellent. And the key is Choice Hotels. That's
Choice Hotels.
You have to
remember to put in Choice Hotels to get any of those type of hotels.
Like your choice for radio is Breakthrough Thinking Broadcasting Network, Choice Radio, Choice Hotels. Okay,
yes.
So we branded that. So Della Brandenburger, thank you so much from Comfort Inn in Chandler and Comfort Inn and Suites in Surprise. I don't know how the suites aren't. Oh, because they don't have suites in Chandler. That's probably the reason.
Exactly.
Figured that out by myself. Okay, so Della, thank you so much, and love to have you on again. Hope you enjoyed it, and we hope and wish you good luck going forward.
Thank you.
And this is the Breakthrough Thinking Broadcasting Network, the Peoria Chamber of Commerce Radio Hour. We'll see everyone next month for another episode from Peoria Chamber of Commerce. Bye-bye.